Well, welcome to another edition of Culture Matters. Actually, this is our final installment of Culture Matters for 2017, and I'm pleased, as always, to be joined by Mark Minner, Managing Director at FirstPerson. Mark, welcome.
Thank you, Gary.
Decided we're going to do a little best of. We've had a lot of really cool segments throughout the course of the year on some companies doing some really innovative things around culture. So let's get right to it. We picked about a half dozen or so companies, and we begin with Element 3. And they are a real growth story. Interesting because in the marketing space, that's a very competitive space, and they've really done well in that space.
Yeah, incredibly competitive space. And Tiffany, in her mid-20s, started the organization and has really grown it to be about 70 people now. They refer to themselves as E3ers. They have this really unique culture and vibe that they all embrace, and in an interesting location up at the Pyramids. But if you think about what they've been able to do, in that space, it's all about kind of branding, creating brands for their clients, creating experiences for their clients, and they use data analytics to really drive a lot of that, her background being from Purdue. So it's a really unique angle that they have, and then they turn that internal as well.
Yeah, you talk about Tiffany Sauter. A big part of their culture is her leadership. It really starts at the top there and permeates through the organization.
No question. If you had a chance to meet her too, it doesn't take you long to realize why. She's an incredible person. And one of the interesting things is they've actually created their own mascot at Element 3, and it's an elephant. And part of the reason is the elephant is led, the groups are led by strong females, and just like Element 3 is as well. And they're also incredibly loyal. They care about their own. They travel in herds, all those things that kind of the values they want to create at Element 3 as well. And I also really like, they have these awesome blocks where they give Legos as little rewards every time somebody does well, so you can build upon it.
Yeah, and with Element 3, and really a theme running through many of these stories we've done this year is the space. It really reflects the culture as well.
Well, it's an interesting building too. The Pyramid's a bit of an iconic office space in the Indianapolis community, but you don't necessarily think of these thriving entrepreneurial style businesses in these older office buildings, and you go into the space and it's amazing. It looks incredible, and the culture and the vibe they've been able to create over there is really special.
Entrepreneurial success stories, also a theme running through our stories this year on Culture Matters. Jim Kinney and the Kinney Group, I think, is another good example. Cloud-based IT company. I think he started it in his home. And then has really made some bold moves, if you will, in terms of moving space from Keystone over to Hallville.
Yeah, talk about a move for a business, especially in the type of work that they do. But yeah, you go from the Keystone, the Crossing area, into the Hallville neighborhood, which is an area that would be more emerging than it is established. And for an area like that, they have really embraced it. The community has embraced them. They've become an anchor tenant for that area. And it is really, really special. If you have a chance to go over there, the space for stuff is just super unique and really special. But the impact that they're able to have on the community in that area is something that is unique in this business community, and something that helps thrive their culture.
And again, a big part of their culture, and I know you, I think, were talking to Jim, and he kind of talked about how some people didn't think maybe necessarily it was going to be a good move to go there, but again, they've embraced it. It's part of the culture, and I assume part of the talent attraction and retention piece.
Jim helped co-host an event with United Way talking about poverty. It was a poverty simulator, and he talked about, look, when we moved into this area, not everybody knew what to expect, and guess what? It's not like there's been crime everywhere. People have been wonderful around us, and more importantly, the work they've been able to do in their garden, out on their earth team that's involved in sort of the backyard of their office, has brought local high school students, local kids in, given them opportunities to work, and has made an incredible impact on their lives in that community. And if you can't get behind that, I don't know what you can get behind, because it's really an incredible testament to Jim, to the Kinney team, and what they're doing for Indianapolis.
And it's a company that has continued to grow. They started out with maybe 10 or 12 employees. They've grown to now more than 80. And importantly, again, back to that culture thing, they're not called employees, they're colleagues.
Colleagues, right? A very special term, yeah. And it's not one that's just fluff, right? It really has a meaning behind it. It's Jim's way of saying, the leadership's team way of saying, you're not just employees for us, we're all colleagues, we're all in this together. It goes back to that community-centric feel that's been created, and you walk around this, and they also have a lot of colleagues that are remote. So you think about the impact that has to have, and the way they try and work to stay connected, but also any events and fun stuff they have internally, they make sure they turn that and give opportunities externally for those folks that are remote.
Switch gears here a little bit to Citizen State Bank, opening another new location in Fishers. But I think very interesting and unique in that here is an old line company, you would say, in a very traditional industry. Citizen State Bank was organized in 1873, 3 days after new banking laws went into effect in the state of Indiana. So it is a company that's been around, a banking company, for a long time, but they have really embraced this whole culture idea and used it to their benefit.
1873. I mean, that is incredible to think about. And for a fourth generation business to not only be surviving, but to be thriving as they continue to expand their presence in central and east central Indiana, it's really remarkable. And the third chartered bank in the state, and what's really unique about that is you think about all the different things that have affected over time, and for their ability to be able to embrace the different changes and the transforming landscapes of not only the Indianapolis community, but the U.S. climate as well. And then if you look at what their brand is today, you would not think it's a business that's been around for 140 years. It's got a very refreshed look. Some of the new buildings, the Nickel Plate district that they're opening up in, has the branch has like this spa hotel feel, which is not anything like you see in other banking institutions. So they found a way not only to respect the tradition and the legacy of the past, but also kind of jump all into the future. Yeah,
interesting, I think, too, in selecting Fishers for this location, which has really branded itself and is in reality a very entrepreneurial, innovation-driven type area, and I think they probably want to feed off of that.
What Mayor Fadness and that community is doing to continue to grow. It seems like, I don't know about you, every time I drive up there, and it could be a week that you drive in between, something new is going up, something exciting is happening, and for Citizen State Bank to kind of anchor itself in that community up in the Nickel Plate district is a very savvy move, and one that I think they're excited about and the community's excited about as well.
Yeah, the bank is unique in that it's family-owned, remains family-owned, and one other thing I thought was noteworthy is the fact that so many companies are doing things around culture now. And this traditional banking company, Citizen State Bank, many of these things they've been doing for a long time.
They've been doing things for a long time, and other companies are now catching up to that, which is really interesting. The other thing I love about it too, Gary, is so many times, especially when you think of the banking industry, so much of it is top-down driven, and employees feel like they're just kind of working toward whatever the leadership is saying. The Maddox family, this is one that they're looking back and they're saying, we want to hear you. We want to hear your feedback. We want to drive where our organization is heading based on what we're all collectively thinking and believe we can do together. And so it's a really unique take in that industry on what you could see sort of a bottom up or this equitable leadership.
Yep. Advisa is another company we featured in 2017, founded in 1986 by Bob Wilson. Again, an entrepreneurial story. He founded it in his basement and has grown. Just opened new space in the Arts District, the beautiful district in Carmel.
Yeah, we're again talking about another great revamp of space, and Bob started his organization in his basement, as you mentioned, but it's a 9-month project that it took for Advisa to rehab this space in another really cool district of the northern suburbs, in that Carmel Arts District. And for Advisa, I think what the work that they do, Gary, around trying to make sure that they're developing really good leaders. They're a big distributor and coach around PI, Predictive Index. And so what they're doing is they're going into these talent sides of this organization, in the leadership of these organizations, and helping other companies, their clients, do this type of work. So they turned it internally and said, how do we make sure that not only our space matches where we're trying to go, but also that the work that we do for our clients, we're doing for ourselves. But it's been really cool to watch Bob grow that business, Heather Haas now in the leadership role in that organization, and watching that continue to thrive.
From a cultural standpoint, when you look at Advisa, it's very clear they're kind of a family-first, need balance in your life type of a company. Is that an accurate statement, and does that kind of permeate this whole talent attraction and retention piece?
It is. I mean, it's not only up on the walls, but it's what they believe, it's what they live, and they're not very bound by, hey, you got to be in your desk, you got to work in this spot. They're very flexible around how they work. They feel that people can work as well or better at home or remotely as they can in the office. The other thing I really like about it, one of the things they're doing, is they're saying, how do we try and make the world a better place one leader at a time? And if that is a really cool purpose to kind of get behind, and I think the family first mantra combined with the purpose that they're charging toward, you see the great work product they're able to deliver for their clients.
Final company we'll spotlight in this segment, Seven Corners, a company that is in the travel and trip insurance business. You talk about working remotely. This is a company with literally has a global presence, so they do have a lot of remote employees.
They do, and early mid '90s is when the company started, and if you think about, we just talked about the purpose statement for Advisa's case, but for Seven Corners, you think about the type of work that they do in terms of helping people in those most unexpected moment of need, and everybody plays a role in that. And really getting clear on what the mission is and how people can not only buy into the mission, but how they impact the mission is really special. And so for Seven Corners that has employees all over the country, as long as there is a unifying message that they can really understand and relate to, that is really special. It's been a big driver for their success.
Yeah, and a number of initiatives around talent, around culture. I should say the Apollo Project is really important at Seven Corners.
How many times do you hear a company that says, our next initiative is this strategic initiative, right?
Right.
But they don't have a brand or a purpose behind it. The Apollo program designed a few years ago to really help take the business from this entrepreneurial, high-growth organization to mature the organization in a way that builds out a leadership team, helps employees understand what they're doing, and it's named after, of course, the space program, and they think about, that was trying to take a moonshot. This is trying to take a moonshot for their organization as well. So helping kind of all boats rise in the organization and maturing the organization from just this entrepreneurial style company is exactly what that's designed to do, and it's been successful so far.
Some of the best and most interesting features we've had over the course of the year. Mark, as you look back on this, we use the word intentional a lot.
Yep.
It seems so clear to me that when you talk about culture and when you talk about all the elements that drive culture, being intentional and strategic about it have to be right at the top of the list.
The thing that sticks out is you don't have to spend just gobs of money to try and create a great culture. You're not just going to go buy a great culture. The word intentional is really important, I think, Gary, because it's about, do we have a purpose and a plan that our employees can understand, relate to, and that aligns to the business? And is the leadership team bought in?
Yep.
This is not something that's going to be driven by a culture committee that says, okay, tell us how much culture we're going to have this year. What are we going to do? This is about a leadership team's commitment to have their vision permeate throughout the organization in a meaningful way that creates great retention, helps attract employees, and at the end of the day, just creates a better daily experience.
Mark Benner, Managing Director at FirstPerson. Thanks as always. We'll talk to you soon.
Gary, thank you so much.
All right.